Greetings, people of Earth. I'm Rick Harold. Thanks for listening to my video and podcasts. Today, it's So You Sure You Want to Be an Entrepreneur?
Dang, it's all misty. It's kind of nice up here, though.
I'm here to give you kind of some information about that in terms of the history that I had. I've been an entrepreneur literally for 29 years. Prior to that, I worked in a corporation at Northrop. I was there for 3.5 years. I'll talk about that some other time. And then I worked at IBM. Aside from my jobs as a kid, working at stores and whatever. So you want to be an entrepreneur? That's great. Go for it. It's awesome. But it's 24/7. You're dreaming about it. When you wake up, between brushing your teeth, driving, whatever, you're always thinking about whatever your job or whatever you're trying to do. At least if you want to be successful. It's not 9 to 5. Vacations, even though we take them, a lot of times I'm working on a vacation. And it sounds like, geez, what do you want to do that for? Well, you have to like what you're doing. You have to like the topic or the area, whatever you happen to be focused on. And I'm lucky enough that I've always liked things related to business and computers and electronics and things like that. And to me, it's always been fun. So even when I took vacations, if I didn't have work to do, which was very rare, excuse me, I would bring computer business books with because I like it. I just like to do that. I do other fun things too, of course, but it's a 24/7 job. To give you some ideas how intense it might get, when I had started my previous company, we started from 2 people, Varesh Bhatti and myself. There were times where months I would go working till I was exhausted. I had an air mattress next to my desk. I'd basically fall down on the air mattress, sleep, 3 hours, whatever, maybe 3 hours, get back up and start working. We had a house that we used, and instead of an office, so we didn't live there, but we kind of lived there. Sometimes I'd sleep in the closet because it was dark. And sometimes when you're working so much and so stressed about things, it's really hard to sleep. So I got like lockjaw a couple of times because I was so tense when I was sleeping. When you're 20, you also don't change your clothes too much sometimes, especially developer people. So luckily we had a shower there, but we'd run the laundry, take showers there. Now, I'm not saying all entrepreneurs have to do this, but it's all about commitment to what you're doing if you want to do it well. I used to log my hours. You'll see in some other posts, I get fairly intense and I like to keep track of things, and that's just what I do. So I would log my hours. And when we were younger also, I'd get mad at other people that weren't working as hard. And that probably wasn't the best thing, because if I'm in there working, geez, everybody else should be in there working if, they're part of this startup, right? I'm less like that now, but it's something that when you're doing a startup and people are working that much, other people start seeing what other people are doing. You try to stay focused on the work, of course, but you're working with people, right? The other part of this entrepreneur thing is there's a lot of uncertainty. The flow of where the product goes, you think you can kind of control it, and you kind of do to some extent, but not just market forces, but your own knowledge, what you're capable of doing forces, whether it's from a funding point of view or from just an effort point of view or the technology or whatever. So those things all kind of work and create a lot of chaos and uncertainty, and you have to be really comfortable working in that because it's creates anxiety otherwise. So you have to kind of like the dynamicness of it. And it's something I like. I don't like chaos, but I don't mind not having the answers. And that's another area. I remember when I first started full time, doing the startup, I realized, gosh, we have to make every single decision. And many times there's nobody to help you with the decision. And it's not like you can go research it. You can research more stuff today with the internet and obviously that kind of information that's out there. But there's many things you just don't know. You have to kind of figure it out and move on. And you don't want to get frozen too long or you're paranoid about the decision. So I think that's a big thing. The other thing is, when I first started, I didn't have a family. Now I have a family, so there's that balance that you have to bring in. And of course, everybody's got their own opinion about work-life balance and how much that is and whatever. And that's something everybody has to kind of figure out for themselves. But it's definitely different. When I was in my 20s and early 30s, I could be a crazy person. My crazy means working. And I liked it. That's what I did. But, you know, when you have a family, you can't do that. And they're involved in it indirectly or directly. So you have to be persistent. That's another aspect. It's not just about uncertainty and chaos and knowledge that you may or may not have. You have to be persistent because there's so many problems you run into that you can't anticipate until you get there, and then you got to work around it. And there's some logical problems, some non-logical problems. You know, anybody's worked on computers, development-wise, or electronics, you think these things are like alive because they don't operate. They're supposed to operate a certain way. They don't. You know, we found many times when we're doing a lot of our work, we're operating on top of Windows, let's say, we'd find flaws in Windows because a lot of the stuff that we did was so deep or wide that you just run into problems. And, you know, one of the assumptions you have is, of course, Windows is perfect. And I don't mean from a user point of view. I mean from a developer API point of view. And then how do you solve that problem? You can't go move Microsoft and tell them to fix their problem. You have to go work around all these things. So that's a lot of the kind of things you'll run into. Anyway, and you have to be able to learn about everything, constantly learn. That's, you know, we're doing that today. The team has to learn all these new things. It's a different world today versus what it used to be. But persistence, wanting to learn, understanding the uncertainty, those things haven't changed. And it's not just exclusive to startup companies either. This can be in bigger companies. They can create environments where they allow people to be a startup within a company, to allow innovation to occur outside of the committee mentality, and allow people to flourish. And then, of course, then the company flourishes. But even in those environments, the people working there, they have to understand there's a lot of unknowns and be comfortable with that. So I think that's probably a good summary of being an entrepreneur. I can get in a lot more details. Eventually, I'll do some live events where people can ask me questions about anything. There's a lot of stories about lots of different situations in terms of a startup that are pretty funny if you're into that kind of stuff. But that's a good summary. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, great, because it's actually pretty cool. And I like all the stuff that people do when they start creating new things. So thanks again, and thanks for listening. Take it easy.